You may have seen the story, I guess, last week. I think the Gazette ran this story. A woman who, I guess, wanted to remain anonymous, detailing what it was like trying to get a job working in the city of Montreal's blue-collar workforce. And then detailing just how badly this story does. The numbers actually have gone down with the number of women who used to work and the number of women now who, fewer and fewer of them, are actually able to find those blue-collar jobs. And having to deal with a lot of other stuff on the, on the daily grind as well from the predominantly men who have these jobs. City says, I think at one point in the story that it used to be a third. They were shooting for a third of women to have these jobs. That number's been going down year after year after year to now less than 20%. So I thought we'd try to find out more. Meryem Benslimane is an expert in diversity, equity, and inclusion, a member of the Conseil de Montrealaises, and is on the line. Thank you for being with us. Can you just touch on this story and try to explain why you think this is happening?
Thank you so much for having me, Aaron. It is an important report. Just to give a bit of context, this was a follow-up report. We did a first one in 2013 that was one of its kind, just to have the situation. So it was to see 12 years later, like what was the situation.
Okay.
So basically what we've seen, and you said so, there is a decrease of women who are blue collar. We see four main issues that were happening regarding the staffing, work-life balance, sexual, psychological, discriminatory harassment, and workplace health and safety issues that are happening. So obviously it's shocking and a bit disappointing to see, because we were hoping that things would improve. But representation decreased, and the harassment is still here. Women still fear retaliation if they report incidents, so that showcases a deep-seated cultural issue within the workplace and highlights a workplace environment that is made by men for men.
But can I just point, I want to just this one figure, which is, the one that jumps out at you. The survey here, which is trying to track what's happening in the blue-collar workforce for women, it says found 62% of females in the blue-collar workforce were the victims of an inappropriate joke. Another 27% have been the victims of vulgar acts, and 15% had experienced repeated sexual proposals. So it's not as if the city is unaware of this. And as I said, numbers have been going down every year. I think I said lower than 20%. The story suggests it's only now 14% of that workforce, which has a goal of 33%. Those are the women who want to work here, because apparently women who find out about this don't want to work here.
Exactly. So that's for me. There's also, I guess, two factors that might explain why this is happening. First of all, the hiring is not enough of women to make sure that we have a good number of women blue collar, and a lot of women are retiring also. So I guess like these two factors perhaps explain this drop in representation. There were small improvements for women blue collars, and the city, I have to say, the reception from the city of Montreal to this report has been really great. They are listening, they want to improve, and they've tried some measures throughout the years. It's just that, unfortunately, as we can see, the numbers are not here, and the harassment is still there. The workplace, the life balance, work-life balance in particular has worsened if we compare to how it was into 2013. So there is obviously still work to do, as you mentioned, a few comments, vulgarity, insults, intimidation. So unfortunately, it's still very, very present.
So you said a minute ago that the city, is sort of doing what it can, or it's aware of the problem. But in the report that we read, the woman who used to have this job, who wanted to remain anonymous, says she's frustrated with the city for not having done more.
Exactly, because it is very, very hard to actually have accommodations for women. The schedules are not very flexible. There's not enough transparency on how it is, how the accommodations are granted. It's harder for women to get them, especially if we think of single women, of migrant women. So there are barriers still happening, and we have actually recommendation in the report to try to improve the situations and make flexible schedules more accessible, and specifically if we think also about there are the permanent employees, but also non-permanent employees that do not have necessarily access to all the measures.
But can I ask, by the way, is one of the things that would just seem when I read about the number of complaints for various different, aggressions, if you will, what about the idea of engaging in more or in some sensitivity training?
Exactly, that's a very good point, and the city has been doing some measures, has implemented, but they are very new, so it's hard to tell the impact yet. But I know they have implemented what they call the Blue Circuit, Circuit Bleu. That was a pilot project of a 5-day training for new recruits, and so it is, from what I understand, it is being implemented more widely, but it's still fairly new. They have adopted a work-life balance policy in 2023. So there are lots of initiatives that have been ongoing for maybe the past year or so, but it's still very, very recent. So it's not to say the city is not doing anything. It's just too recent to tell, and therefore, unfortunately, the situation is still complex for women. And it's hard for retention. I think I'm trying to get the percentage, but a lot of women said, I think a third of them said that they considered leaving actually due to the workplace environment. 35% of them. So that's a huge number when a third of your workforce is considering that.
I will also point one other thing out, and I hadn't thought of the city. I hadn't thought of this, earlier. The city is supposed to have policies in place, right, to basically make sure that there's an ethnic, racial, and religious diversity. And according to the article, that's apparently a lot easier to do when you have to find men from diverse communities than it is when you have to find women.
Exactly. That's a very good point to make, Aaron, because there was a change of methodology also by the Human Rights Commission that is actually impacting the how the measures are in place, because women are now, they used to have their own categories and a lot more details on what type of job also you're doing, which category, and now they're a bit invisibilized, erased, because they're in the same category as visible minorities, etc. So there's less detail, and therefore different types of jobs are mixed together, and it gives the illusion that we're okay with the numbers. We actually have the percentage, the target that we need. But when you hear from the ground, from the women, when you did all these interviews and group discussions, the reality says a different story.
Can I ask, just as a final question, I mean, we know the opposition has spoken up. I know Stephanie Valenzuela spoke up, saying we have to make, a greater effort, if you will, to be able to accommodate people, right, to protect the value of blue-collar women in the city. Are you hopeful that things change? Because you're describing things that are now, underway, but they're fairly new. How long will it take, do you think, before we get there?
I do hope that things will change. We recommended 10 recommendations really that are clear and measurables, and so I have hope. It would be a win for everyone, a win for the city, because women would be more likely to apply for blue-collar jobs. And for the city, that is a very good employer. The city is always praised for that, and it's true for other categories of jobs within the city of Montreal. So I think to attract those women, and I can give one clear example about the pay raise. For example, we know the wage gap between female and male-dominated sectors. A blue-collar worker with the DEP earns to $37 to $42 per hour, and if we compare to a personal support worker, maybe within an age of $21, or it's those are really, really good conditions and good salaries. So the city will gain to attracting more women to this type of job.
Well, let's hope that's the case. I thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much,
Of course.
Aaron.